Okay, so today is December 1st, and the topic of the reading from the book Affirmations for the Inner Child by Raquel Lerner is spirituality. I embrace the idea of a loving God. At times, I find it difficult to embrace the notion of a God who loves me unconditionally. I know that an integral part of recovery is the development of a healthy spiritual base. Even now, I am aware of an ever-present doubt that lurks in my soul. How could God love a mistake? How could such a precious child be so viciously punished? Growing up in a dysfunctional family left me spiritually bankrupt. Unfortunately, I fill this void with destructive ideas based on the perceptions of a frightened child. When I made mistakes, my parents punished me by saying I was bad, threatening that God would punish me. No wonder thoughts of a higher power provide so little comfort now. Today, I will cradle my frightened inner child in my lap. I will speak about ideas of faith, expectations of God, and the realization of plenty. Well, so that is the reading of today, which, well, yes, as it's difficult. It's difficult to talk about this topic in particular, but it's true. I mean, I agree with all of the things that the reading says. It is difficult. It is difficult for in the history of humankind. We have always uh, acknowledged the existence of higher powers, no matter what. There was a moment where societies and humans have agreed that there were many gods, right? The existence of multiple gods, multiple deities, right? Upon them not understanding the way society worked or the environment in which they lived worked, right? But, well, uh, what history tells us, I don't know how far it could go, but most recently, right? Perhaps 2000, no, even more, perhaps around 5,000 years ago, uh, the notion, the idea that there was only one God came to be, right? In uh, in the in the form of Judaism, right, as a religion or Islamic traditions, right? Well, no, Islamic came a little bit before, right? A little bit after, right? I think Islamic came after the Christian religion, right? But well, the idea of Judaism, right? The idea that there were a community of people that believed only in one God, uh, whatever it is that you want to call it again, Jehovah, uh, Yahweh, or whatever other name the Bible gives it, right? But how? How does an individual understands understands that idea, right? Uh, in a society perhaps devoid of the belief that God exists. Because, well, at the end, well, most societies acknowledge the existence of God, right? But sometimes they are built in an idea that God doesn't exist, right? So nowadays, most governments call themselves like, right, non-religious, right? In the idea that they're supposed to accept most religions, because religions, it's not that they're wrong, but they interpret the notion of God in a different ways, right? And different groups interpret it differently, right? So, like the reading says also, when you are born in a society or in an environment that is toxic, that is negative, right? Uh, Embracing the idea of a God, accepting the idea that there is only one God and that God is loving, like Christianity tells us. Christianity is typically uh, or particularly known as the one that tells us that love is love, that God is love, right? And we should understand that it's particularly difficult, right, in that environment. It's not easy, and that is where one has to be mature enough. Perhaps one has to go a little bit deeper into understanding, right? I think that understanding, God comes with understanding, right? The realization of an existing God and understanding a little bit the world that surrounds us. That makes us more acceptant of the idea of a God. I believe. I believe, right? There are many people that call themselves philosophers that or atheists, right? And they end up thinking that no, God doesn't exist, and they say it with such a confidence, but that is not understanding. I believe, right? I believe that for one to understand, right, the notion that you don't know anything, right, and that most of the things that you know are incorrect or could be incorrect in any case, and they're just the way people express themselves, right, or they're just the way that you think the world works is not correct. And then you realize that, well, probably yes, the idea of a God, of one only existing God, and that God is loving is not that incorrect. And one has to go through that. That's a process. That's a long process. Perhaps it's a long process. For some people, it could be simple, but for others, it could be difficult. Not everybody. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, I guess it's difficult. Most people just are closed, are simply closed to the idea of an existing God. They just don't care, or they just uh, tend to be a little bit hypocritical about it or cynic about it, right? And they just don't care much. But well, whatever it is that their behavior in this society is, well, if you are going to partake into this current society, this carnist society in which you are in, bad things are going to happen because well, it's inevitable. The way people, right, behave themselves into this society and the rules that they put into other people, it's going to make bad things happen to them. And if they don't want to understand or they don't want to change their attitudes, all the energy flow that, right, that is put, they let themselves put into the society, well, bad things are going to come back no matter what. I mean, it's difficult for people to understand that. So they need to try their most to understand that there is a loving God that we are supposed to learn. That's one of the most common ideas of what we are here for. Is just to learn. It's just for us to experience this world that we live, this society, this environment, and for us to learn how to cope with the difficulties of living in this realm. of living in this society, of living in this world, how to be, basically, right? And it's a necessity. It's a human necessity. I'm not against religions at all, any religions, no matter how violent some people say some are, but uh, people should learn from that violence too, or from the notion that everything is good. At the end, people have to learn what comes from all that, from all those ideas. There should be a lesson learned. Of course, if people don't want to learn and right and try to change their behaviors, well, then there's going to be a problem. But that is something we have to accept. I believe that, and well, either individually or socially, we have to accept it, right? Well, those are that is the reading of today and the considerations that I have upon it. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Leave any comments below. Share it through social media. And as always, if Providence allows it, we will meet each other in a different day.